Guru Nation, welcome to episode 223 of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. Hello YouTube, hello Facebook, I think that's it, LinkedIn, Chris, Sauber.
No Snapchat or anything like that?
This can't go on Snapchat,
It's too big?
Yeah, that's a good one. 14-0, fantasy football, 14-0.
Yeah.
Will I lose? No, I won't.
You know what you're doing?
Making people not want to join our league.
Exactly.
Because I'm
Because you would call them out and say, tell everybody that listens to you the record, oh my god, this team sucks.
I haven't yet to say your record because I truly don't know your record.
Yeah, but you would, when we started doing this at the beginning of the season, you were concerned with my team and blah, blah, blah. You built it up. So you're not talking smack about it, but you would well, I don't know if you would or not actually, but I think people would be concerned that you would.
Call them out?
Yeah. Like, oh, this team sucks.
Yeah, but no one would know because it's a fake name.
Sure.
Right?
Sure, but still people don't like to be embarrassed, even if they're the only ones that know.
Well, let's do a 12-person league next year. Clinical Trials Guru Fantasy Football League. And we say we're going to do that every year, but nobody wants to do it. So.
But we've never promoted it. We've never really pushed.
We haven't, right, we should push it. But it's too early now. We're just planting the seeds now.
Yeah.
Gonna water them later.
Okay. And hopefully they sprouted by
grow
the time
them
it grows.
and extract them by the time fall comes around again.
Yeah.
Harvest.
We'd like to know in August.
Right. Alright, enough about fantasy football. Even though I'm really good at it. Let's get into the grab bag of questions, shall we?
Okay.
Hi Dan. This one's hot, fresh off the presses.
Alright.
Hi Dan, what title and hourly pay rate would you assign at a clinical research site to the team member who has a BS in biology plus postgraduate coursework in clinical research and 10 years of experience in various clinical research positions and is responsible at the site for the following? Okay. Site payments and invoicing, study visit tracking, contracts and budget negotiation, SOP generation and updating, managing CTMS, source document verification and transfer of data into CTMS, source doc preparation and QA, SAE review and invoice, and patient recruitment strategies. Well, basically, this person's doing everything.
Not everything, but a lot of it.
Not the PI work, but...
or the coordinator work necessarily.
Okay, true. So like a site director, right? This is a site director.
Yeah, and a lot of that overlaps, right?
Sure.
The CTMS and invoicing, that kind of overlaps.
But I saved this one for you because this is got Chris Sauber all over it.
Well...
when you're assigning a number to
So one, I don't necessarily think the degree level plays any role in how much this person should be paid.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion. I know for some it would.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it'd be more about, how well are you doing your job? Am I making any more money because of you?
Right.
Am I saving money because of you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's actually a good question for you too.
Yeah, no. Well, this is why it's going to be good for the podcast.
What would we pay somebody an hourly rate to replace me here? You were just talking about this.
I was just talking about
like an hour ago.
We need, for our dozen businesses, we need someone to manage each unit independently.
Right. Okay.
So that you and I can do other things.
How much? So from our perspective,
because essentially this email is everything that you do here.
Yes. A few other things, but yes. So I guess the way to look at this is from the business perspective. So the employer, it's really what can they get away with paying you, right?
Well, break that down. This is a podcast. We can go long form on this.
Sure.
And maybe we just focus on this topic the whole episode.
I don't know about that. I don't think there's enough here.
We're already 5 minutes into it.
And we'll be done with this in 5 minutes.
No, we won't.
No?
Maybe not. I don't know. I have some other ones.
Okay, so it's really from a business perspective, I think, for the most part, right? I mean, you have two ways to look at this. What can I get away with paying you? And what am I getting for paying you? Right? So the less I'm getting, the less I'm incentivized to pay you. One.
Wait, so say that again. So the less I'm getting, who's
Right,
this?
as the employer, I'm speaking for the employer.
Okay, so you're speaking for the employer.
Right.
The less I'm getting,
The less I'm willing to pay you. Right? So the less you're doing for me, the less I'm going to pay you. So it's good
Right.
that you've itemized these tasks that you do, this person in the email.
yeah. Well, it sounds like this is the owner.
Oh, they're gonna hire out.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. So anyhow,
But it doesn't matter. It could be from.
Sure.
Let's answer it from both perspectives.
right. So as an employer, your goal. So let's say you own a publicly traded company. Your goal is to save money. Because you have a responsibility to your shareholders. Right?
Yeah.
So really, you don't pay any more than you have to in terms of salary.
Right.
Right.
We pay a little north of fair
I,
for the retention aspect.
yes, and that's an argument.
And actually, we're going to get into how to keep a sub-I happy.
Sure.
A new sub-I happy. This is very much related to what we're dealing with in real time.
Sure. So I think this differs if this is the person that's doing this job and maybe is thinking they're not being paid fairly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between that and an employer who wants to hire out for somebody to do these tasks. So
There is.
So I think if you're hiring out to somebody to do these tasks, then I probably would I would interview probably at 20 an hour is where I would start.
Starting.
Right. That's
To replace you here
right, 20 an hour.
as a site director.
Right. What can I
20
give?
an hour plus bonus incentives.
I don't think I would do it a bonus initially.
No?
What I want to do as an employer is see what can I get for 20 an hour. Do I like what I'm getting, right, for 20 an hour? If I don't, right, let's say I hire an individual and I don't care for what I'm getting for 20 an hour, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can hire incorrectly for anything, and no matter what you're paying.
Right.
But I think your respondents are going to be different between, say, paying 20 an hour and 30 an hour.
Right.
So I would start at 20 an hour, see what kind of response I received. If I really liked any of my respondents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I liked what I hired, if I felt they did a good job, then of course I'd want to incentivize them to stick around,
Yeah.
right? Here's your pay. No, here's your raise structure, or here's your incentives, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times people ask you this in an interview, so maybe you need to have something going in as well, right? Structured.
Right.
What would the incentives be? And then, right, if you're happy with them, then of course they would receive those incentives. If not, then I guess maybe you're letting them go, or you would tell them, I'm not happy with your performance. If your incentives are structured in a way that they have to meet some sort of work performance, then you should always be happy if you have to pay those out.
Yeah. Because it's a net win for everybody.
Right. So, there's a lot to work with here.
There's a lot, it's all variable, and you're right. The way the employee should look at this versus the way the employer should look at this is obviously, how can I make the most? Or how can I spend the least, but not lose somebody either?
Well, as an employee, you have to communicate to your employer what value you bring to the company,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to threaten them. I forget the term. You don't have to give I'm not finding the word. So it's going to bother me, but anyhow, you don't have to threaten that I'm going to leave if you don't give me the raise, right?
Right.
But if you show and demonstrate the value that you bring, then your employer should fear losing you.
Yeah, and if they don't, and you really are good at all this stuff, somebody else is going to be happy to hire you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's answer this as the employer.
Sorry, I gotta look up the word I was looking for.
Sure, let's look at this as the employer. I think 20 an hour for somebody new that you don't know, who says they have all this experience, is fair. if you do know them already, let's say this person has worked at your clinic as a study coordinator for 10 years, and now you're considering promoting them.
Well, then you have to give them a promotional salary, just not a title.
Right.
And I'm assuming the coordinator's at least making that at that point if they've been working for 10
That's what I'm
years.
saying. So if it's somebody I already know...
Ultimatum.
Okay, so if it's somebody I already know that has been working with me for years, same position, but I know them already, I'm willing to pay them $30 an hour.
Yeah.
35 and bonuses. If it's someone brand new, I couldn't agree with you. I think start at 20 an hour, maybe even a little lower.
If you can get it.
If you can get it.
Right. So it's again, what can you get?
Right.
What's your response?
Right.
What does it look like?
It's what you can get until you know that you have a
Something of value.
proven person of value,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's not how little can I pay, it's how can I make sure I keep this person.
Then it's a flip a little bit. It's what do I have to pay to keep them?
Yeah.
What's you still want to find that value to yourself as well as the employer.
I still believe in north end of fair
Which
for
that
someone
would be.
that's proven themselves to you.
Which in my mind that would be.
Ray Dalio, who wrote the book Principles, he says once someone's proven their worth to the company, you pay them north end of fair.
Sure, and I don't disagree.
You don't want to go too high of fair, but you want to be on the northern extreme of the fair range.
I think in the human dynamic, most people overvalue themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to have a problem paying the north end of fair if the person you're paying is happy with what they're being paid. That's my point.
Right. But in this case, obviously, there's some kind of a disagreement. I don't know who this person... I'm assuming they're the site owner.
So employer, non-employee.
But it could be the employee. And if, like you said, if you're the employee and you've been at that company for a while and they're not recognizing your value, maybe you should consider going somewhere else.
Or at least have a conversation.
Right.
But always start with a
But if it's
conversation.
falling on deaf ears and you really think you're this good, put your money where your mouth is.
I see plenty of ads on Indeed for site directors.
Right.
Not hard to come by this position.
Now, if you haven't been
Matter of fact,
working...
we know somebody looking for this position right now. He's Russian.
Oh, yeah. We're looking for this.
Well, we're not really looking.
It's our company.
No, not that Russian. Different.
Oh,
Russian.
different Russian. I don't know.
Yes, you do.
I'm sure I do.
He said something very funny about Trump.
Oh, okay, I know. That Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah, us Eastern Europeans are funny sometimes.
Yeah, but anyhow, he's looking for a site director.
Okay, yep. So, again, if you're the employee and you've been with this company for a while and you're constantly having to prove your worth, you might want to have a conversation. Ultimately, it's up to you. It's on you. It's no one else's responsibility to look out for your best interests in this industry.
Absolutely.
If you're brand new to the company, I think you should be willing to start at a lower rate in order to prove your worth, and then start having these conversations.
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but a lot of times I think people are leery of saying, well, I have to start low now, and they're never going to pay me appropriately.
Right, but it's always, well, what's the alternative?
Sure.
Can you go somewhere else right now and get more?
And if you can do so.
Yeah, and if you can't,
then that's
the alternative
your
is
choice.
staying at home and
Doing
having that gap on your CV get bigger,
Mm-hmm.
which somebody else sent me their CV today, not one of our students. They have 5 years of experience as a coordinator. They stopped working in 2013, I don't know why, but they did, and they're having a hard time getting back in. And I told them, modify your CV and put from 2013 until present, you're an independent contractor, consultant, right?
It's easier to explain if you're a female. Legally, they can't even hold it against you.
Sure, but no one likes to see that gap on your resume. If the case is not child rearing.
Even that they don't like to see.
Right.
Because you're more dedicated to your family
Right.
and your work profession.
So did you like my strategy? Put that you've been an independent contractor,
Yeah,
consultant?
that's probably your best option.
Even if you had no clients. I mean, just put it on there.
It's considered lying, but yeah, I would tend to agree.
Why? Is it though? You have skills. You could
But
could
when
open up.
you would assume, most people would assume, this is on your CV, you've had some clients, right? You've done some work.
Right. So maybe they can think of something in that 4 years that they actually did, research related, that you can argue was a independent contractor or a consultant. Because a lot of people do stuff like
Educational.
education. A lot of people do things like recruit patients for sites, but don't put that on their CV.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looks like they have a gap.
Right.
When in reality, what were you doing? You were an independent contractor recruiting patients for a site.
Sure.
Right? So always mind the gaps, like they say in London on their subways. Mind the gap. Means don't fall in the hole. But in this case, pay attention to what your CV says when it comes to having missing time on your CV.
Mm-hmm.
And again, for childbirth, for maternity leave and rearing family, everyone understands that. They may not like it, but it's illegal to discriminate against that. But if that's not the case, I mean, if that's you right now, okay, and let's say you left your job, let's say you're this employee that was asking for a raise at the site, you have 10 years of experience, they didn't give it to you, and you're like, screw this, you let your emotions take over, and you're like, screw this, I'm going to go find another job. And you realize, it's actually a lot harder than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
The grass is not always greener on the other side, so now you're getting
That's
a gap.
also a good point of advice. Grass isn't always greener.
We'll get into that, but see, I told you this one will take up the whole episode. You left, okay, and now every month that goes by, every month's turned into years, you're starting to get a gap on your CV.
Mm-hmm.
Why not get a DBA, fictitious business name, become something, the CRA guru, or the CRA expert, or the clinical research consultant. A DBA costs $20. Now you're an independent contractor. Now you put that on your CV. Try to do a few things.
You can even go a step further, in my opinion. I mean, I know if somebody walked in the door here today, not today, it's kind of late, I would probably kick them out.
I'd be worried if someone
Yeah,
walked
exactly.
in.
I want them to leave. But tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, during the daylight hours, came in and said, hey, I was in the industry for years. I've been off for whatever reason. I've been out of the industry for whatever reason, and I'd like to get back into the industry. I want to prove myself. You don't necessarily have to hire me, but I want it on my CV. Really, all I'm working for you for is a job reference. I want to do recruiting for you, or something of that nature.
And I'm going to put it on my CV that I worked here.
And then you're going to verify that I did.
And if you happen to like me,
I would have no issues taking that on.
and I would even add one thing. If you happen to like me, you can hire me. I'll let you have first opportunity.
Absolutely. Of course you would say that.
First opportunity.
Of course you would say that. But what I'm saying is use so that you seem as no threat to this employer you're speaking to.
Yeah.
You're not obligated to hire me. I just want you as a reference. If you would like to hire me, I surely would consider that. But
if someone came in like this situation you just said to me, probably very similar to you in this regard, and they said, hey, I've done all these things, I just want to volunteer here because I don't want to have a gap on my CV. You don't need to hire me, but I just want to help out in any way I can, and if you do want to hire me at some point, I'll work for you.
right.
First thing I would tell them, you have two options. You can do both, but you have to do one. Get me studies or get me patients. I'll even pay you.
Yeah, it's exactly what I would do.
Right?
Exactly.
Which one do you want to do? Get me studies or get me patients or both?
Right.
And if they say, oh no, I don't really do that, I say, well, what do you do?
Well,
What
nice
do
knowing
you do?
you at that point.
No, what do
I'm
you
willing
do?
to work with you, but it has to be on my terms.
Well, let's play this out. Okay. So that obviously would be a red flag to me, that they don't want to do that.
Right.
So I say, okay, what do you do? And they say, well, I do site payments and invoicing, study visit tracking, I can do the QA for your coordinators.
I wouldn't want to do that. I would be concerned about a number of things by letting them have hands on
Yes.
what I'm getting paid on.
I'd be concerned about the culture for my existing employees.
That too.
Who is this person
Without
all of a
knowing
sudden?
them at all.
All of a sudden, they're monitoring my books.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I'd be worried about that. So I really would want to see something practical and tangible immediately from this
That has
person.
no effect on it can never be negative, right?
Right.
So yes, that's study recruitment, patient recruitment.
So guess what? If you are this person and you don't get patients or get studies, learn how.
Yeah,
Learn. How many webinars do we have on each of these topics?
sure.
Oh, take a
lot.
guess.
I
And
don't
how
know,
many
a lot.
videos?
A lot.
And how many videos?
A lot.
We have books written on this.
Yeah, lots of stuff, lots of information.
Learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And then tell them, you'll do this.
Yeah.
Anybody out there, right?
Yeah.
We
Tell them you'll do this going in, then spend a week learning how to do it.
We had a guy, this is how it ties into us. We have a guy we're meeting with again this week, Thursday.
Right.
We met with him last Thursday. CEO of a big CRO said, forget it, I'm tired of making money for other people. I want to start my own business, but hey, Dan and Chris, in the meantime, I need to do
Right.
something to just pay my bills,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And what are we going to tell them? Basically the same thing. Get us clients, find us studies.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to recruit patients, but we're having him work for our CRO.
Very similar.
Right. We're not a site, we're the CRO in this case, but it's the same principle.
Right.
Get me something that's risk-free to me. Right?
Yep.
And then I don't have to explain to my staff what you're doing. They don't care. You're not looking at their books.
Right.
Right? So if you're not good at that, then get good at that. And this person's job title said patient recruitment strategies.
Sure.
So go recruit patients.
Yeah, or recruit studies, learn how to do that. Add another bullet point to
Right.
your skill set.
And then let's not forget the beginning of the title. Or the question, what title would you assign this person? I would say site director. Site director, yeah. But initially, they'd be shadowing me. If I'm trying to replace myself as a site director with someone, they would be assistant site director.
Initially.
Until I think that they're ready.
Comfortable with them taking over.
Like me and Monica.
Yeah.
She's technically site director, but I haven't given up yet. That'll be end of 2019.
Sure.
Ideally, knock on wood, that'll actually finally happen.
Right.
Right? Okay, see? I told you the questions got us going places. 22 minutes. Thank you, everybody. Anything else you want to add?
That's it? We're done with this?
I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, but we're done with the podcast.
Well, it's still going.
No. We keep talking?
If you have something else to add.
I don't really.
You think we covered everything?
I'm sure that you could cover more.
We covered strategies
more
for
material there.
Strategies for the employer, strategies for the employee, strategies if the person's new to your company, or strategies if the person's existing to your company. We gave you what we think is fair as far as compensation, and we gave you what under all scenarios, and a title.
Grass isn't always greener.
Oh, let's expand on that. You wanted to get into that. The grass always seems to be greener on the other side. This is especially true for employees.
Yeah. We have two that I can think of right
Oh,
off the top of my head.
yes.
Grass is greener. Guess what?
They think the grass is
Months
greener
later, they were asking for their jobs back. Both of them.
at a lesser pay than
Yeah.
what they used to get.
Yeah, they even said they would take lesser pay.
Well, guess what? You know what I told them? That train has left the station.
Yeah, they actually kind of upset you.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Because we were paying them a north end of fare,
right,
right? Because I wanted to keep them.
right.
Then they got friendly and wanted to use their.
They unionized kind
They
of.
basically did a mini union, and you and I were not gonna have that.
No,
Even if it meant I gotta get in there and start coordinating again,
right.
which we didn't really have to do.
No, thankfully not.
Thankfully not. But yeah, the grass is not always greener on the other side.
So the two coordinators quit.
So if you're gonna quit, if you're at an employer,
Well, you should start with, do I really want to leave this job,
right?
right? And there's obvious situations where you must, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might even want to consider a lawsuit in certain situations, right?
Right.
You're being abused in some way, sexually harassed, anything of that nature. Though I think the sexual harassment thing is way overboard, but there's true sexual harassment,
Sure.
right? So I think if you're experiencing any of that, of course the grass is pretty much greener everywhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people just get slightly disenfranchised for whatever reason, and think, I'd be better off elsewhere.
Right.
And we have many experiences where this is not the case.
Yeah. So if you're gonna call someone's bluff, here's how that played out. They basically, let's go with poker. You love poker.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably, I'm not as good as you, so it may not be a great analogy
You
for
don't
an
know that.
expert.
It's never been tested.
Okay. We were playing poker, basically.
Yeah.
You and I truly could care less if they quit.
No, we wanted them to stay.
Of course.
We didn't want them to do the work.
We
We didn't want to have to do the work
We
ourselves.
were paying them north end of fair, but you and I decided, hey, you know what? If it means us having to do it temporarily,
Yep.
I'm more than willing to do it. I
We even
don't
had
want
this-
to.
We even had this conversation.
I don't
I
want
could be
to.
here 30% of the time. You could be here 70. Okay,
Yeah.
we can do it.
I don't want to.
Right.
I would rather have a hole in my head.
Yep.
Not really, but figuratively speaking,
Yep.
than to do this. But I'm willing to do it because of the principle here.
Yeah. I think that's what we decided.
And they probably thought
They had us in a hard.
these guys are doing so many things.
Grass is always greener, rock in a hard place.
Right. So they didn't have a plan B.
Right.
Right. Or their plan B was something vague, like I'm gonna be a consultant and get a bunch of clients because that's what they're doing.
Right.
And we're doing it anyways.
Right.
Well, it's pretty tough. Do you know how many, for all the wannabe consultants out there?
So wait, before you go on.
Yeah, sure, because we're going to go on a tangent.
What should an employee consider before determining whether they should leave or look for another employer?
Well, let me finish texting my neighbor because he got a package for me.
So like I said, I started. If you're truly being harassed, you really have little options because you're being demeaned, right?
Neighbor's dropping off a package to prevent package thieves. We do each other this solid. All right, go ahead. Before we go on.
So there's certain issues where you really don't have anything to consider, right? If you're being harassed in some way, if you're being abused in some way, you kind of have to leave, right? Because it's not good to you. It's not good for yourself.
If it's like a terrible work environment, or there's some other places where I get these emails too, where we're not going to get into this, but like there's unethical things going on. Right. But they're not the type of person to want to snitch or whistle blow,
Sure.
which I respect that, but they're trying to get out.
Sure.
Which I also respect.
Okay, so let's remove that, right?
Okay.
You're just disenfranchised for some petty reason.
Yeah, you just think it's better somewhere else.
Right, but you have no idea, but you think it probably is.
And maybe you're a little entitled.
So,
right?
I would think so. What really should you consider before deciding I'm going to give my employer an ultimatum? Hey, pay me $5 more an hour or I'm out of here.
Let's stop right there. The first thing you should consider is, what if they say, okay, you're out of here?
Right, that's the problem.
That's really the first thing you should consider.
Sure, but there's other things to consider before even getting there, right? If you're not disenfranchised, you like it there, right? So there's better ways to ask for a raise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Truly many better ways, right? Than say, give me or I'm gone. Many better ways. Right?
What would be one?
Well, I think again, like we already discussed this, you make your value known and just say, I believe I'm worthy of a raise. And we haven't had this conversation for a while, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. There's ways, much better social ways to have this conversation than shoving somebody in a corner.
Right.
So if it's simply a raise, then find a better way to have the conversation. But if it's for some other reason, you just think, I think I would like working somewhere else better. I have a buddy that does this, and it sounds like all rainbows and unicorns, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. You're an employer. You're an employee, right? You don't make the rules. You have to follow the rules.
Right.
If you really want the grass to be greener, then you need to be the employer.
Sure.
Right? So long as you're an employee.
There's no greener grass than owning your own company.
Oh, that's not true either. It's hard work.
In my opinion, there's no
It's hard
greener
work,
grass.
but you make your own rules.
And it's your grass.
Yeah, you make your own rules.
You're not paying rent on someone else's lawn. It's your lawn.
Right. You're making your own rules.
Yes.
If you're an employee, you're following rules.
If you're an employee, you're following rules. Yes.
Right. So that's the only way the grass is ever truly going to be greener.
True.
If you're working for somebody, you're going to have to contend with things you don't like.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Right? Wherever
There's
you're
no
working.
perfect workplace.
Yeah.
Either they're too rigid, there's too much middle management that's trying to keep the good people down because they're protecting their job rather than trying to grow the company.
Yep.
Which happens at a lot of large companies.
Yep.
We don't really have that issue because it's us.
Hmm.
But watch. Once we bring in someone to start managing our businesses, the thing we're going to have to worry about, well, the thing you and I are going to have to worry about is this person we hired basically to replace me, are they really trying to grow the business like I am? Or like I would? Even if it's not 100% of what I would do, but let's say it's 51% leaning in that direction.
Right.
Or are they just trying to protect their paycheck and keep talented people down because they don't want to risk changing
Sure.
status quo?
It's a possibility, right?
Right? We don't have to deal with that yet, but at some point we will. Pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're the employee and you do this, always have a backup plan. For those employees thinking you can go out on your own and be a consultant, this is what I was going to say before we got sidetracked, and now we will get a little sidetracked. Okay, open your own clinic is an option. Right?
Self-employed.
Self-employed. Do you know the life cycle in a B2B industry, which we are in? For us as consultants or site directors getting studies, alright, so let's break it down. What we do as site directors, we get studies. There's a life cycle. It's 3 to 12 months from you reaching out until that study actually starts producing something. Right? We tell clients this all the time.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
That's the life cycle. It could be longer, it could be shorter, but usually it's 3 to...
Yeah, I would say that's a fair average.
What's the life cycle of us getting a client for our consulting?
And maintaining them, keeping them,
Yeah.
probably 6 months.
6 months. Now here's what people don't understand. Whether they're job seekers, I've noticed this common theme. I used to be in it too.
Actually, I take that back. It used to be 6 months. It's changed significantly recently.
Right.
It's much longer now.
So that's the length of the life cycle. Okay. Now let's talk about volume of leads. Top of the funnel. This funnel has a bunch of holes in it. People quit for whatever reasons. People bail out, different stages of the sales process. And then the end of the funnel is who's paid, right? Revenue.
Mm-hmm.
People, job seekers, or site owners, or entrepreneurs in this space, all of them share this in common, and I used to share this as well until I realized my fault. They assume that it's much less volume needed to create one result as it really is. And in my experiences, it's at least 10 times. Like, if you want one paying client, it's 10 serious leads. Same thing for our CRA Academy. You want one student? 10 serious leads. Serious leads.
Mm-hmm.
Not people that are just saying, oh yeah, one day I want to be... No. Like, people that can pay you and are considering doing it soon. That's a serious lead. 10 of those to get one. People quit when the first 2, when they don't pan out. They start panicking. You just need to increase the volume, and that's a whole nother podcast in and of itself.
How to get serious leads.
And then if you're a job seeker, same thing. The same funnel. You know how hard it is, even if you're experienced, to get one job? At least 10 to 1. If you don't have experience, it's probably like 100 to 1.
Mm. Yeah.
There's been others that have said it's 400 to 1 for 0 experience. So, it's way more, as far as volume, and way more effort than you think. And I think we can end it on that. I think we covered all bases, and it's a 34-minute
Well, I'm
podcast.
sure there's more material you can
Oh,
cover.
there's a lot more, but you said it will only be 5 minutes. And this is one question. I didn't even get into anything else.
Well, we went off on tangents.
That's what we always do on these podcasts. Take care, everybody. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.